It's time to turn your life-challenging moments into life-changing messages. Welcome to the Power Lift Stories podcast, where we are interviewing women whose stories will leave you lifted up, fired up, and fueled up with hope, courage, and inspiration. We want to thank our sponsor, Powerful Journey, who helps women tell their stories, write their books, and building a profitable brand around both. Join the masterclass or the Speakers Academy at phyllisjenkins.com. That is PhyllisJenkins.com. Now here's your host, Phyllis Jenkins.
Hello and welcome back. We have another super interview tonight that I am grateful for. Jody and I are in the platform Launchers together, and she is an amazing woman, and I'm super excited to have her with us tonight. Jody Skinner, welcome.
Thank you, Phyllis. I'm so honored to be asked. Thanks.
Well, I am honored to have you here, and let's just jump right into our interview.
Right.
I have this beautiful bio that I am going to read because I don't want to miss anything that you have accomplished. So let's just go right into it. Jody Skinner is a seasoned book proofreader and typesetter who works with authors of fiction and inspirational nonfiction. Since 2017, Jody has worked with numerous authors and editors, supporting writers in the process between finishing a manuscript and holding their own books in their hands. And Jody, you are indeed in the right place tonight. In that, Jody is in front of our Writer's Journey community, and these women, or Jody, they are either writing their manuscripts or they're in the completion of their manuscripts and getting ready for publication. So we are really excited to have you tonight.
I love that.
Jody is the author of Format Your Book with Vellum, a guide which trains authors to use Vellum book marketing software. She is also the founder of Smidgen Press, a publishing company dedicated to preserving classic literature for future generations. The adventure of being an Air Force spouse have shaped Jody's perspective of the value of meaningful connections. Love that, Jody. She and her husband, Mike, have 3 children, teens and young adults, and they currently live on the U.S. East Coast. An includer at heart, Jody is committed to cultivating a community of kindness and encouragement, both within the author community and the world at large. Jody, so excited to have you here, and I would like to ask you to share the why behind your book and a little of your story as well.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I have to start back with, I had a dream of being, a book proofreader when I was really young. And once I noticed that writers have to have people supporting them, you have to have people who have your back and are going to go through and look and see what's not making sense to a reader, or typos or other things like that. But when I went and studied music in college instead of writing or anything like that. But when I got to the weekend of my 40th birthday, God just put the door was open for me to be able to start a new journey as a proofreader and find what that was going to look like. So we've lived a lot of different places. Being a trained musician benefited me for being able to have piano students and things like that. And I realized that there's a difference too between the skills involved in teaching a room full of people and being able to see, okay, who's connecting, who's not. And you know, changing your presentation. I'm related to some amazing people that can do that. But recognizing that it's not less than because my brain doesn't work that way, and give me a one-on-one mentorship type of thing. Let's connect and do this together. And so yeah, when God opened this door, I had not taken on any piano students because I was recovering from, well, I had been diagnosed with a hormonal imbalance that was related to a vitamin D issue. We lived in Alaska at the time, and there were some things leading up to it, but that was a really big thing to overcome. And so yeah, I wasn't teaching at the time, and for God to bring this when I was like, okay, 40, what's next? He's
I
just so
love
kind. It was just perfect timing. So, and everything that I've done has always been about the people connections. You know, whatever jobs I've taken, whatever businesses I've done, it's connecting with people is always the best part.
it is. And once we connect with people and we see that we have a skill or something that we can help better their lives, we know that that connection was there for a reason. And so when you wrote your book, um, formatting the with Vellum, talk about that, because before I met you, I had not heard of that particular platform. So let's talk about that for a while.
So yeah, as I entered the realm of proofreaders, I realized in a hurry that I needed to be able to do something in addition to that, because there are just so many people who are willing to raise their hand and say, hey, I can do this. And so you have different levels of training, all these other things. And I was like, you know what? I've always been pretty okay with, you know, I had to format programs during you know, my studies. I've worked and done similar things for the chapels and the church groups that we've been part of. I'm going to format books. That's a great idea. And I think if I'd known how hard it was going to be to learn programs like Adobe InDesign, I might have been a little more hesitant to stick my toe in there. But sometimes I'm just so glad that God doesn't tell us how hard something's going to be. He just walks with us. So after I'd been using this software for a couple of years, it is a program called Vellum. Here, I'll show you my book.
Yes.
So it's got this lovely little, whatever that flower is, I don't know. But it's really nice because having learned, you know, how to manually format the books and make sure that, you know, hey, the bottoms of the pages at the very bottom, they line up across from each other when you open a book. No matter what page you open to, they should line up. The pages numbers should be, you know, done this way or that way. Well, with Vellum, there's so much that you don't have to do. It's a template-based software, so it's got some design limitations, but it was just really amazing for people not to have to spend hundreds of hours learning classical typesetting rules and things like that. And so when I found a group on Facebook, probably late 2018, 2019, something like that, I spent some time in there, realized I really like troubleshooting things with people. They're coming up with these issues. And so then you go poke around and say, hey, well, how can we help you fix this? Is it, you know, just again, that connection, let's help you, let's solve this problem. And they kept asking a lot of the same questions. And so I was like, okay, there's a website with a help section that the Vellum creators have put together. It can sometimes be a little hard to navigate. Or if you're on a computer screen trying to be in this screen and format this, and then, oh, I have to go back to the website to find that out. I was like, and I'm a hands-on person. I'm like, I just want a book. And by the time I got to where I didn't need the book anymore, I'm like, okay, other people need a book too. Let me see, can I write these same questions out and have this in a resource that if somebody wants to have this and flip it open and mark up the pages, that they could do that. Yeah, I was somebody who I didn't want to write a book. Matter of fact, I wanted not to write a book. I don't write naturally. So, you know, I wasn't one of these burning people who had to do that. But God that was the path that he had. And I think I've given away, I've lost count, but I think I've given away over 1,000 copies now. I don't know how many I've sold. I haven't looked at those numbers, but I'm so excited that people are taking advantage of this and trying things for themselves, because sometimes success is saying, I've tried this and I want somebody else to do it. And so finding, here, let's connect you with someone who can help you. So success looks different depending on each person.
I love, Jody, that you found a need and you filled it. You took what you had experienced with this program and you decided to put it in a book so that it would be a great resource for others. And giving 1,000 away, I think it's well, we'll talk in a minute about how they can purchase your book as well. But I love that it has become a resource that many are benefiting from. So if you were to give an overview of what's inside of your book, a summary, what would you share?
The it's actually a pretty technical, not technical. I've tried to simplify it, but just a walkthrough of how to format a book from start to finish. Um, Everything from clicking Vellum open to getting your document in there, all the way through the process of adding some decorative touches and then how to generate your files. And so that's the same for both the print book and the ebook. The nature of software is that, they keep looking different with new operating systems and things like that. So I'm actually working on the 3rd edition now. So the one that's available is the 2nd edition. So the 3rd edition will be out later this year. But the second half of the book, again, being a hands-on learner, um, I would get really frustrated trying to kind of visualize what the different styles would look like, because they can be very, very different. If you're on video, you can see that a lot of the different chapter types, there's 82 just kind of baseline possible things that you can have your book look like. So the end of the book is a preview. It's got the same text on one page for all of them. And so you can see, hey, does this feel like, when I look at this, do I think my book's going to look good in this? And I have people who got a copy of the first edition of this. They're like, oh, hey, I want these in, the print version. So they brought that. And then even though they didn't need the new instructions, by the time the 2nd edition came out, they're like, no, I need to see what all the template options look like. So they bought it so they could have and hold it in their hands and see what it looks like. So finding the way that people process, finding the way that people learn, and trying to supply that to them it's a privilege and a challenge. And it's been really a fun and challenging thing to do.
Well, I love that you're having fun with it, because I am not the technical person. I would hire you or someone to do it for me. But I don't know if you can't see the chat right now, but our members are putting in what a great resource, a great idea. And so I'm sure that we'll have more questions coming from them once we are done with our interview. But I just want to say thank you again, that once you learned the Vellum and you didn't stop there, you decided to reach out and create a source that can help others. And here you are on volume 2, did you say? And getting ready for the next. I mean, I absolutely love what you're doing. Jody, how can our audience connect with you? How can they order your book? All of the above.
Well, the probably the place that I spend the most time investing in people and what they're doing right now is on Facebook. And as part of the group called Vellum Users, if you just search Vellum Users on Facebook, that'll pop up. There's not a lot on Facebook with regard to the software. But people will just come in there and they'll ask questions. It's really a great and helpful environment where where people, they're there to help each other, and having that community, that myself and 3 other individuals, we took over the admin of the group in 2020. And it's been such a great place to watch people, hey, they asked that question 3 months ago and now they're back here helping somebody else with it. And so that's where I give away an ebook copy of my book. And I'm like, I want to make it to where there aren't barriers to somebody having the opportunity to try this and see, all right, does this work for me? Is this something I can operate? And if not, again, that's successful to know you'd rather not. I am, my Facebook page is Skinner Book Services. And that's at Skinner Books, both on Instagram and Facebook. And you can find out a little bit more about my book on skinnerbooks.com/format.
Love that. And I will have all of that information in the show notes if you missed any of it. And Jody, I'd like to just ask now, what are 3 lessons that you've learned from using this that you would like to share with our listening audience?
I'm really glad that you sent over your PDF that had these questions, because I think thinking through these has been really helpful. So I think from my story, not so much my book, because my book won't relate to everybody. My mom, bless her, my mom read the whole book, even though she's never used the Vellum software. I love my mom. She's amazing.
Go, Mom, go.
So, but I think just from the journey of life not really looking like what I thought it would, I think the first one that I would say is, even when it's the right time, don't be surprised if it's not the perfect time, and do it anyway. Because, when this opportunity to be a proofreader came along, I was, actively working on recovering from a hormonal imbalance and restoring my system, asking God for the wisdom. What people do you want to connect me with because of this? And now, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of days where I wanted to just not get out of bed and not be thankful for anything. But, the upward trajectory of, this is God's provision in the middle of what's an unbroken world. That's what we're doing. My kids at the time I had one in high school, one in middle school, one in elementary school. I was pretty busy, and it was a rough transition. We had just moved from Alaska to Texas. And so going from 10 below to 110 was its own set of challenges. So we lived in San Antonio at the time, and just watching all of the things that God, he had that grace waiting for me when I needed it through all of that. So it won't be the perfect time, but it may be the right time. Second thing is that sometimes our greatest challenges aren't from a weakness or from something that we've never had the skill for. Sometimes it's going to be the flip side of the coin for what we're strongest in. Like being I am an includer. I want you to feel like you can be successful at this. Borrow my courage if you need some for a while. Let's do this together. And I'm a connector. Okay, you need somebody who can consult on children's books. I have a person, I'm going to tag her every week or two, and we're just going to send you there because that's her specialty. But then when I have a day where I'm struggling, what's the flip side of that strength? That is a huge challenge. If I'm an includer and there's people in my home and I have things I need to do at my desk, but the phone rings and things keep texting and somebody sends me a message, then I'm going to prioritize that instead of setting a boundary to go, I'm not cutting them out by setting a boundary for what I need to do. Or if I'm having a day where I just feel powerless, and so I'll go scroll looking for somebody to connect with something, or looking for somebody who has a question, even if I don't need to be the one to answer it. That ends up being more of a drawback. the flip side of my strength rather than a weakness. I'm not ever going to have a perfectly magazine worthy house. I'm not the tidiest housekeeper. Praise God for my husband, because he's so caring, so good. And we work well together. But you find where you can build on your strengths, and where you just go, that's not going to be me, and that's okay. And I think the third thing is, when you take all the dreams that you have, and when God shows you which ones that he's going to bring into a vision, don't be surprised when it looks a little different than you expected. Because again, I was one who wanted to not write a book, and for this to have been a vehicle just for connecting people, I mean, I can't even say the book is secondary. It's way down there as far as just the doors that it's opened to connect with other people. It's been really amazing to share stories, because you're absolutely right that somebody else is going to be blessed by the story that we have to share, of having hope that, okay, your system was very messed up, didn't feel good, didn't have a good outlook on life, had a lot more anxiety because of all these physical problems and so many things, that it's almost like we take away the power that our adversary has over us when we're willing to talk about them and share those and see that we're not alone. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
love sharing the stories of seeing what God has done and has planted the seeds all along. But then when a proverbial door opens, what's it actually look like?
I love that, Jody. And God knows that you are an includer, that you are a connector. And so he is giving you different opportunities to be that connector, to be that person that that is including others, and your resource that he has allowed you to publish is doing that as well. So thank you again for being here. We will have all of Jody's information in the show notes below. And I have to ask you, have you purchased your ticket yet to the Powerful Journey Women's Conference? It's around the corner, April 20th. And you can go to my website, phyllisjenkins.com, PHYLLIS, Jenkins.com, and you can get your registration both in person and virtually, and we look forward to seeing you there. There will be many authors that are there that are telling their stories and launching their books. So I think this is just the perfect time to have had Jody on. So Jody, thank you again. And we will look forward to seeing everyone back here next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you are interested in being on the show, go to phyllisjenkins.com. You can also sign up for the Powerful Journey Masterclass or the Speakers Academy at phyllisjenkins.com.